You're listening to Cornhole Champions. I'm your host, Zachary Oren Smith. I'm sitting here with Amie Rivers and Liz Fleming, and our second story is our second quarter fundraising numbers. Second quarter reports are out this month, and they're giving us our first real look at Iowa's federal candidates, how they're preparing for what could be some of the most competitive races in the country. Republicans are playing defense this year with a narrow majority in the House and Senate. Iowa is ground zero for the nation as Democrats try to pick up some seats. And I wanted to talk about it. Have y'all been? Is the money game boring? Does that bore y'all to death? It bores me to death sometimes.
Never. When this report was posted, I was like, okay, yeah, who's getting more money? Where are people sitting? And I was actually kind of hopeful looking at these numbers.
Totally. We should start from the top and say that Republican incumbents definitely had the biggest showing, right? Which shouldn't be a surprise, right? Fundraising is so much name recognition. It's about relationships you've built. And if you've actually gotten the seat, I think the party is much more likely to give you money. Institutional donors are so much more likely to invest if they think you're going to be the one in that seat. Mm-hmm. So it shouldn't be surprising, but it's important to note just how much money they have, both in raising and on hand. I'm going to start with U.S. Senator Joni Ernst, who raised $720,000, which compared to like 6 years ago when she raised $1.1 million in this very quarter, it seems like a pretty lackluster showing, at least for this period. There's been a lot of chatter about whether or not she'll run again, particularly after her what was it?
We're all going to die.
We are, yeah. And the apology video.
Oh, and the apology video, right? So I think there's like some open question about whether or not she's going to throw her hat back in the race. But I think while a lot's being made out of the rate that she raised, I think it's also important to note that she's got $3.4 million on hand. So, obviously you'll need more than that to run this race, but that is a pretty large war chest. And U.S. senators with their 6-year kind of tenures, they just come with a lot of stability. So, if she chooses to run again, she will still be a pretty formidable opponent. Let's go ahead and talk about the Democrats in that race. Right now we've got 3 Democrats that have thrown their hat in the race. The person who kind of surprised me was Nathan Sage. He's the Democrat who's running. Doesn't have a ton of experience in Iowa politics, but he brought $709,000, right? And he was bragging about his because so much of it the vast majority of it came from small donors, right? He had I think the average donation for was like $25. Pretty impressive grassroots fundraising.
People love Nathan Sage.
There's some excitement there, right? His campaign puts out a lot of videos of him working the stump across the state. You find people are showing up for him. People are interested. People are checking it out. He's got a really fast burn rate. This was brought to my attention by someone who follows these races pretty closely. And it kind of makes sense, right? The burn rate being kind of the money he's spending up front during his campain, right? We're in Q2. This the point that this person was trying to make is this is he's not leaving a lot on hand for the future, right? Thinking about what that looks like, but for this primary, he's got to make a splash, right? Yeah. So if he's trying to, I don't anticipate that his campaign is wasting any dimes for later. If they can't make a splash, if he can't get some recognition early on, he's going to stand. It's only going to get worse for him as we get closer to the primary.
You mentioned Nathan Sage raising a bunch from small donors. Where did Joni Ernst raise from?
That's a good question. I didn't look into that, but that information is all public and is all available online. I just don't have those numbers in front of me. State Senator Zach Wahls was kind of the next person. He also put up a ton of money, $657,000 raised, $626,000 left on hand for this quarter. One thing that his campaign pointed out to me was this was raised all in 2.5 weeks, right? So he's, obviously he's got a long history in the state, doing a lot of work in the state legislature. He was the former Senate Minority Leader. Before being ousted, he did a lot this year. He's pushing kind of a term limits package, which was kind of interesting, and a stock transparency act. So he obviously, it's unsurprising that he would generate a lot of money. He has a lot of donor relationships. And he's been
name recognition.
A lot of name recognition. You'll remember him from his I've got 2 moms and y'all should stop being mean to gay people.
I definitely remember that.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show a couple of times. Moving on, State Representative J.D. Schulten, he raised $176,000 and had $157,000 on hand. Not a great showing for Q2, but still early days, and there's a lot of excitement within that camp about his chances should he be the person in the primary. But there's always I'm always a little reticent to trust white papers that come out this far ahead of a primary, but there is a lot of excitement over there for JD's chances. One last person to mention, there is a Republican running against Joni Ernst who did submit a report. His name's Jim Carlin. Jim Carlin raised $8,000 and spent $84,000. I thought this was super interesting because you asked, well, where did that money come from? That was $78,000 of his personal money, right? That he threw.
$7,800, you mean?
$78,000. He raised $8,000. He spent $84,000. That was not. I did not stutter
there.
Yeah.
Casually, just someone's entire salary.
Casually, personal money, just go to town.
Wow.
Carlin, I reached out to Carlin because I was curious, and he said, "quote The campaign launch was announced June 12th. We are not concerned about the money raised by June 30th." So he was like, he said he doesn't. These numbers don't matter yet.
I love the audacity that people find from within.
It was powerful. I loved it. Moving out of the Senate to the Iowa House, we've already mentioned Mariannette Miller-Meeks' excellent $1.3 million raised. She spent $280,000 this quarter. Is left with a sizable $2.1 million on hand. Miller-Meeks by far was the biggest among Iowa races. Was the biggest raiser. She brought home a ton of money, and her competitor Christina Bohannon, by comparison, raised just $773,000. Still sizable, but just a different echelon. Kind of speaks to just how competitive this race is.
Do you think Miller-Meeks raised so much money because people know that she's so vulnerable?
I mean, I think that's a big part of the story. Is that where this is
coming in?
I bet.
I think that's a huge part of this story.
Like, let's try and help Mariannette.
Exactly. I mean, like she's got she has a third time opponent, Christina Bohannon, running against her. And this is a year that's likely to favor Democrats with a president from the other party and both chambers owned by Republicans. There's a lot of momentum behind a lot of Democrats, and we'll see if that translates in this race or whether it will just be a kind of blowout. Who knows? I did want to point out, going into talking about Miller-Meeks' primary. David Pouch is running again. He filed a report saying he raised $9,000 and is left with $13,000 on hand. David Pouch ran last year and was able to pull 44% of the vote in that primary, which for someone who raised similarly low numbers last year is a pretty, I find that to be a pretty remarkable poll, given that he's name recognition's not there, fundraising's not there, but still able to pull up on Miller-Meeks with 44% of the vote.
Because he's running to the right of her, right?
He is running to the right of her, saying she's not really in it for Trump.
Yeah.
Saying that she's a rhino, that she doesn't have the MAGA bona fides that she needs in order to carry the mantle. Miller-Meeks has had a tough time kind of like navigating Trump waters, right? Mm-hmm. These days, right? Every third word is Trump. But some people feel like that's because she knows she has to win back over MAGA, which has been pretty lukewarm on her from the get-go.
It'll be interesting to see if hitching your wagon to MAGA pays off at all by the time 2026 rolls around. like putting all your eggs in one basket and having one brand. Like maybe people in 2026 won't want anything to do with MAGA anymore. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe, I don't know. But either way, Democrats in Iowa can only go up from here. We don't have any congressional seats, any Senate seats. One would be a win, but I'm hoping for more of a blue wave.
This would be the seat. I mean, this was always the seat that was just like a few hundred votes, a few votes, you know? So like this is definitely the one to watch.
Was it 800 votes last election that Christina Bohannon lost by to Mariannette Miller-Meeks?
That's right. Like that. I mean, it doesn't beat this. It's not as cool as the 6-vote margin from 2020 when it was Rita Hart v. Miller-Meeks. But who's counting? Moving on. Iowa's 2nd congressional district will be quick here. The only report filed in it was U.S. Representative Ashley Hinson, who raised a really staggering $854,000. Right, largest marquee under Miller-Meeks. She's left with $2.8 million on hand. There were no Democrat reports filed, and it seems like it's been kind of tough. There's been kind of after Kevin Tackow dropped out, there's been some question about who's going to carry the mantle. Democrat Kathy Dolter, I'm reading here from Iowa Capital Dispatch, that while State Representative Lindsey James of Dubuque is considering a run, Dolter has actually announced she's a former dean of nursing at Kirkwood Community College, retired Army nurse, and that she's kind of trying to take up the mantle and run against Ashley Hinson in that race. So that's Iowa's 2nd congressional district. Moving on to Iowa's 3rd, another really competitive district. U.S. Representative Zach Nunn, the Republican, is the incumbent. He raised $798,000 and had $1.3 million on hand. This is an interesting race because there was kind of an open question about whether or not Nunn would run again, right?
And Trump convinced him to, or something.
There was like a rumor that he might run in Iowa's 4th congressional district to overcome the carpetbagger baggage and run in the 4th. There was he was letting slip to every reporter that would listen that he was thinking about mulling over a run for governor. But it was there was a pretty public thumb screwing where Trump told him, like, by no means will you run anywhere else. We're sending you back to your district, boyo. And so he did. I mean, $798,000 is pretty good for that seat during this quarter. He's running against two Democrats in the Democratic primary. There are two kind of name names. So the one that raised the most was State Senator Sarah Trone-Garrett. She's a minister. Is she Lutheran, right? Lutheran minister. Was with Zach Wahls in this push for a term limit bill for Iowa legislators. She raised $519,000 and is left with $377,000 on hand. Trone-Garrett was one of these folks that really got ahead doing kind of direct-to-camera video for Instagram, and has really been trying to work that angle to try to establish kind of like a greater sense of some of the issues she's following and of her candidacy. State Representative Jennifer Converse is the other person that's raised. She raised $251,000, just half of what Trone-Garrett raised. But Jennifer Converse, as being the former minority leader for the House, right, carries with her a ton of relationships. When she announced her raise, I mean, she was this like tremendous source of had a ton of folks running with her, endorsing her. Yeah, that's the word. My God. Anyway, so that's those three races. There's also the 4th congressional district. Randy Feenstra is vacating, but he was the only person to file a report. He's considering a run for governor and is likely to announce that in the future.
I just wanted to say, as someone who lives in the 3rd district, I am super stoked about both Sarah Trone-Garrett and Jennifer Converse. Anybody over Zach Nunn. He obviously isn't very interested in keeping his job. I read 4% of that money that he raised actually came from Iowa. The rest of it is like special interests or outside spending. So Zach Nunn, I think your days are numbered, if I'm reading this correctly.
Roast him, Liz.
I will. I roast him all the time. If he has one enemy, it's me.
It's on site. I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you talk, the way that you
Look, it's no fun roasting Reynolds anymore.
I know. You gotta go for Zach Nunn.
And with that, let's take a break.